You know, there's something rather amusing about this whole spiritual business. People come to me and they say, Alan, I've been meditating. I've been reading all the right books. I've had this extraordinary experience of oneness with everything. And then almost in the same breath they add, but why am I so terribly alone? Why can't I find someone to love? And I look at them and I want to laugh. Not because I'm mocking their pain, you understand, but because they don't see the cosmic joke they've walked into. They've awakened to the fact that they are the entire universe expressing itself, and now they're complaining that they can't find a date on Saturday night. It's like a wave suddenly realizing it's the ocean and then worrying that it can't find another wave to go steady with. But let me tell you something. This loneliness, this sense of standing apart from the ordinary games of romance, it's not a bug in the system. It's a feature. And once you understand why, you'll see that what looks like a problem is actually the opening of a door to something far more interesting than anything you left behind. People often imagine that what they call love is some pure and sacred thing. But look closer, and you'll see it behaves more like a marketplace than a miracle. Two souls, each terrified of their own emptiness, trading comfort for validation. We were raised on a story that tells us we're incomplete, that somewhere out there lives the missing half of ourselves, the one who will repair our fractures and make life finally make sense. It's a lovely story, romantic, sentimental, and entirely false. So we set out to shop for completion. We polish our surfaces, rehearse clever lines, sculpt our smiles to appear desirable. We chase approval the way a merchant chases profit, terrified that if no one chooses us, we'll be left unsold and unwanted. And this is what passes for romance in most of the world. Two frightened people bargaining in the dark, each hoping the other will silence the echo of their own loneliness. For a while, the performance works. There's the rush, the fluttering heart, the sleepless nights, the sweet intoxication we call falling in love. But notice the verb, falling. As though love were a pit we tumble into, something that happens to us instead of something we consciously create. Beneath that feverish excitement lies something raw and unspoken. Need. The desperate need to escape ourselves. The need to prove that we matter, that we exist in someone else's eyes. We dress that need in poetry and perfume, but beneath the lace and language it's still fear. Fear of solitude, fear of being unseen. So we pledge devotion, we make grand gestures, we promise eternity, yet all the while we're bargaining for safety. I'll be what you need if you'll be what I need. I'll soothe your panic if you'll silence mine. This is the secret machinery beneath most modern love stories. They glitter on the surface, but underneath the glitter hums a quiet terror. What we worship as passion is often anxiety wearing a mask. And until we see that clearly, until we understand that what drives the chase is not fullness but hunger, we remain caught in the oldest transaction of all. Two incomplete people trading illusions in the hope they will feel whole. When awareness finally stirs, the illusion begins to unravel. You start to notice that what you once called love was never love at all. It was fear dressed in a finer costume. The romantic gestures, the promises, the breathless declarations suddenly look like the lines of a play you've performed 100 times before. You realize how much of your passion was just anxiety made poetic, how much of your tenderness was really a bargain for comfort. Once that seeing happens, there's no way to unsee it. The spell is broken. The magic trick has been explained, and though you can still admire the performance, you can't believe in it anymore. The rabbit was never pulled from thin air, it was hidden there all along. The illusion remains beautiful, but it no longer fools you. This is where awakening begins to separate you from the world you knew. You're no longer able to join the dance of mutual need. You can still appreciate its rhythm, its drama, its beauty, but you know the choreography by heart. You see the invisible wires holding up the lovers on the stage. You hear the nervousness behind the serenade, and because of that, you cannot pretend that the old performance is real. People might look at you and think you've grown distant, cold, detached. But it isn't detachment, it's clarity. You've stopped mistaking dependency for devotion. You've stopped believing that another person can complete a being who was never broken to begin with. This vision doesn't make you loveless. It makes you honest. You can still care deeply, still feel affection and tenderness, but you can't do it out of need anymore. You can't fall the way you used to, because you understand now that the falling was a way to avoid standing alone. And so, the world that once felt full of possibilities begins to narrow. You stand at the edge of the stage, watching others act out the old drama with passion and sincerity, while you remain still, aware, unable to forget what you've seen. It's not superiority, it's sobriety. The illusion of love has lost its hold, and in its place arises something quieter, something vast, the clear, still space of seeing through the game. There comes a moment, after the first wave of awakening, when silence begins to stretch around you. It isn't the silence of isolation or rejection, it's the silence of clarity. You have seen through the stories that everyone else still believes in, and that vision, though liberating, leaves you standing alone on the shore while the rest of the world continues to dance in the waves. This loneliness is not about being physically alone. You could be surrounded by people, by laughter, by noise, and still feel it. It's the ache of perceiving the illusion while others remain lost within it. You watch friends fall in love, break apart, fall again, repeating the same cycles with such conviction, and you realize you can't join them anymore. You can't play the part you once did, not because you don't want to, but because you can't make yourself forget. You've glimpsed the mechanism beneath the magic, and the game no longer works on you. It's a strange kind of solitude, the loneliness of seeing too clearly. You feel like an adult at a children's party. They're laughing, shouting, pretending to be pirates and kings, and you can only smile softly, remembering when you believed those games were real. You still love the players, but you can't return to their world. You've crossed an invisible threshold. At first, this clarity feels heavy, like a punishment. You may question yourself, wondering if awakening has cost you something precious. Perhaps ignorance really was bliss. Perhaps it was easier to live half asleep, clinging to the comforting drama of romance and rejection. But that thought fades because somewhere deep inside, you know you've traded comfort for truth, and the bargain was fair. What this loneliness reveals is your new standard for connection. You can no longer be content with half-truths, with love that's built on fear or need. You crave authenticity the way the thirsty crave water. You want to speak without filters, love without pretending, share without hiding. And until you find that, you would rather remain alone in honesty than together in illusion. This is the paradox of awakening. Clarity frees you, yet it separates you. You stand apart not in pride but in peace, knowing that solitude born from truth is far gentler than company built on falsehood. It's the loneliness of freedom, a silence vast enough to hold everything, including yourself. When you awaken to the truth of yourself, your definition of love changes completely. You no longer crave the rush, the chase, the magnetic pull of two incomplete people orbiting one another in search of meaning. You crave something deeper, something so rare that it often feels mythical. You long for a connection that doesn't depend on illusion, one that doesn't require pretending or performing. You begin to see that true connection can only happen between two beings who have each stopped using others as medicine for their wounds. Until that point, every relationship remains an unspoken contract of healing and hiding. I'll fix your loneliness if you'll fix mine. But awakening exposes that trade. You can't enter into it anymore without feeling the falseness of it burn against your skin. So the field narrows. Where once you might have been enchanted by beauty, humor, chemistry, or charm, now you need something else entirely: presence. You need someone who has also peeled back the mask, who has looked their own emptiness in the eye and lived to smile about it. Someone who isn't searching for a missing piece, but standing in wholeness, offering companionship rather than completion. Such people exist, but they are few. They are quiet souls not easily found in crowded rooms. They live with a certain stillness in their gaze, a groundedness that feels like home. When you meet one, it's as if the noise of the world softens for a moment. You recognize them not by appearance, but by resonance. The meeting isn't a collision of needs, it's a recognition, an echo of something ancient and familiar. Yet the rarity of that meeting means you will often walk alone. You will go to gatherings, smile, speak, connect, and still feel untouched at the core. You will meet kind people, good people, yet sense that they are still lost in the old story, still chasing completion in another's arms. You can't fault them. You were there once too, but you can't go back. You can't unlearn what you know, and so you wait, not in bitterness, but in quiet faith. You trust that if another awakened heart crosses your path, you will meet as equals, not as halves. Until then, your solitude become. And so you wait, not in bitterness, but in quiet faith. You trust that if another awakened heart crosses your path, you will meet as equals, not as halves. Until then, your solitude becomes sacred. It's not the loneliness of lack, but the presence of integrity. The refusal to trade truth for comfort. to settle for a connection that does not reach the depth where your soul now lives. When the dust of awakening finally settles, what remains is not emptiness but fullness, an overflowing peace that has nothing to prove, nothing to seek. You realize that the love you spent years searching for was never hidden in another person. It was woven into your own being all along. The hunger that once drove you outward turns inward and dissolves, revealing a stillness so complete that it feels like coming home after lifetimes of wandering. In this state, love changes shape. It's no longer a desperate reaching, no longer a need disguised as devotion. It becomes an atmosphere, a natural expression of who you are. You begin to love not as a transaction but as a way of being, effortless, quiet, unconditional. You no longer love to be loved back. You love because love is what flows through you when you stop clinging and defending. And perhaps one day, another awakened soul crosses your path, not to fill a void, but to share in the wonder of existence. They look at you and see not a savior, not a solution, but an equal, another flame of the same fire. Together, you don't fall in love. You rise in it. There's no obsession, no fear of loss, no bargaining for permanence. Instead, there's an easy stillness, a joy in simply being side by side, like two stars shining in the same sky, independent, yet part of the same light. But even if that meeting never happens, you remain whole. You stop measuring your worth by whether someone chooses you. You stop believing that love's proof lies in being desired. You find that the heart can be full even in solitude because solitude itself becomes sacred. You are no longer waiting for love to arrive, you are living it. This is the hidden gift of awakening. You lose the taste for illusion, but you gain the flavor of truth. You lose the excitement of emotional dependency, but you inherit the quiet ecstasy of freedom. You stop searching for love as an event and begin to live it as your nature. The awakened heart does not cling or demand. It simply shines effortlessly, endlessly, knowing that what it sought was never outside at all. It was always here, breathing through every moment, quietly whispering, "You are already home."